What's going on, guys? Seth here from Team Union. Seth here for week 2 of the Sawsbuck Seasonal Showdown League. Our week 2 team builder against the Tampa Bay Tyranitars. Now this team came into the league a little bit late after the draft. We had one team that actually didn't show up to the draft, so we had to get a replacement coach, and that is what this team is. So they didn't draft the team; they actually picked up the Mons afterwards in free agency. So definitely some pros and cons to that. They didn't necessarily have access to a lot of the really good Mons, the high tier Mons, but they did have the opportunity to craft a team kind of how they wanted in general. Didn't really have the potential to get sniped. So it's definitely an interesting point to make. But we're gonna get right into the team. So they have the Hippowdon, Hitmonlee, Manectric, Spirit Tomb, Rattata, which is their offensive Z user, the Muck, Floatzel, Unfezant, Gardevoir, which is their unlimited Z user, Jellicent, Girder, and Metang. And I will read off my team for you really quickly once I grab my note. This is it. So I have the Tyrantrum, which is my offensive Z user, Exploud, Piloswine, Quillfish, Kadabra, Masquerain, Omastar, Whimsicott, which is my unlimited Z user, Garbodor, Shuckle, Pawniard, and Combuskin. So we're gonna get right into the team builder here. So the first mon on the team. So how I went about building this team is a lot of times I will. Let me turn this a little bit. There we go. Now I'm in the center. A lot of times I will take a team, like take the mons that I want to use, put them on the team, and then fill in EVs and moves after that. The way I've been trying to build lately was to take one or two mons at the start, build them like solid, how I want them to be used in the match, and then build mons around them to support them doing what they're going to do. It doesn't necessarily mean there's a sweeper involved. It doesn't necessarily mean, it's a wall breaker or a wall in general. It just could be a mon that I think is really good in the matchup at doing something regardless that I know I want to bring. So I could set up that mon how I want to set it up, whether it's defensive, whether it's a wall breaker setup, whatever. So that main mon was Exploud in this matchup. I also had Quillfish there in the very beginning. So as you can see, those are the first two mons on the team. But we have Exploud, Sentry Hour Exploud, which is choice specs with Scrappy, Boom Burst, Flamethrower, Overheat, and Hyper Beam. The EVs are 112 in defense, 240 in special attack, 156 in speed with the modest nature. We outspeed an uninvested. I can't see what that says. We outspeed an uninvested Hitmonlee. We outspeed an uninvested Hitmonlee in case it's like Assault Vest and no speed. We outspeed it. The team is very, very slow, so there wasn't really a whole lot of, and the speed tiers are kind of weird. So I didn't really have to run a whole lot of speed. I'm not running webs this week, even though I do have one of my web users in Masquerain, as you can see. So I didn't think it was necessary. But anyway, we live 2 EQs from an uninvested Hippowdon. So if it's just max defense, doesn't have any attack, we live 2 EQs. That doesn't include the sand, which I probably should have calced for, but whatever. And then we kill Metang with the Overheat after a little bit of chip. We 2-OK with Flamethrower, but if it's chipped down a little bit, I can just go for Overheat and knock it out. The Hyper Beam is just there because I didn't really, besides Boom Burst and Flamethrower / Overheat, there wasn't a whole lot that I really needed to put on this set. Boom Burst does so much damage, and then what resists it? Steel and Rock. It doesn't have a Rock type. So, yeah, doesn't have a Rock type. So Flamethrower / Overheat was fine, and the Hyper Beam is kind of there if I just want to get off a crap load of damage. Next up, we have Namor, our Quillfish, with the Shookaberry and Intimidate, Spikes, Waterfall, Poison Jab, and Pain Split, 248 in HP, 44 in attack, 216 in speed with the Jolly Nature. And this thing is here to be kind of like a defensive pivot, but it's also meant to put on a lot of offensive pressure, potentially. So we outspeed the Gardevoir is what the EVs are for, the speed investment. We outspeed a Gardevoir. I am expecting the Gardevoir to be Scarfed to potentially outspeed something like +1 Tyrantrum, to outspeed my Kadabra, the Whimsicott, a +2 Omastar, stuff like that. So I am expecting Gardevoir to be Scarfed. However, it's still a decent check. If he goes for Moonblast, I can eat those pretty well. And then fire off a Poison Jab. If I can get spikes up, it'll be really nice. He only has 2 hazard removers in the Hitmonlee and the Unfezant. I don't really think the Unfezant is going to come. It might. It's possible, but I'm not thinking it's really going to come. I do think the Hitmonlee is going to come, but I do have good answers against that, so it might be hard for him to spin, or if he does, he's going to lose some momentum. And then Pain Split is just there to recover up some health. I wanted to go max HP. The speed is there for the Gardevoir, and then the rest is in attack. Next up, we have Drax, our Piloswine with the Eviolite and Thick Fat, Stealth Rock, Earthquake, Icicle Crash, and Ice Shard. 248 in HP, 228 in attack, 32 in defense with the Adamant Nature. It's a pretty standard Piloswine set, nothing too insane. This is our main check for the Mega Manectric. We take a high jump kick from the Hitmonlee. We take overheats really well from the Manectric. If it's Specs, it'll hit a little bit harder, but if it's Specs, it's a little bit less of a threat. I mean, I guess Specs might be like the bigger threat, but if it's Specs, it's really not a big deal because it can't switch up moves. If it is Overheat, then it's going to lose that special attack, which loses him momentum. If it's Flamethrower, it's not doing as much damage. So, Earthquake there for just general damage. Icicle Crash is there because this is a main. This is here to help me with Hippowdon, and it's pretty good for Unfezant as well. And then Ice Shard there for general priority is really nice as well. Next up, we have Deadpool, our Whimsicott, with the Leftovers and Pranksters. Substitute Cotton Guard, Moonblast, and Giga Drain. 72 in HP, 252 in special attack, 184 in speed with the Modest Nature. This is a really cool set. There are a lot of things that I think might try to status this. Something like the Jellicent, for example. Maybe the Hippowdon, Spiritomb, whatever you might think. And with Prankster up, being able to substitute and then Cotton Guard is really nice. I can actually live a Poison Jab from the Hitmonlee if it's Adamant max attack. If I get a Cotton Guard up, it does like 65 to 75, something around there. So I can live that, potentially get up like another Cotton Guard maybe, eat even more, Giga Drain, get some Leftovers recovery, all that good stuff. So I'm really looking forward to using this set. It's really nice for things like Floatzel, especially if I get the +3 like if I get a Cotton Guard up, Floatzel's doing absolutely nothing. It's the only thing that really stops it hard is the Muck, which can be a bit of a problem. But I have ways to get rid of the Muck, such as the Piloswine. Even the X-Ball does a lot to it. Namor is a good check for Muck as well, so I'm not too worried about the Muck. But if I do get rid of Muck, and I weaken Matang, stuff like that, then Whimsicott can definitely sweep in the late game. The only real concern I have is a potential Calm Mind Spiritomb. But if that's the case, I mean, Moonblast might be able to just power through it. And if not, we have some physical threats as well, potentially. So, next up, we have Falcon, our Masquerain, with the Focus Sash and Intimidate, Quiver Dance, Scald, Air Slash, and U-Turn. 72 in HP, 252 in special attack, 184 in speed with the Rash Nature. So, what this is meant to do, we outspeed the We outspeed the Manectric if we're at +1. If it's Scarfed, obviously we're not going to outspeed, but if it's Scarfed, it's Scarfed. It is what it is. I don't think it will be Scarfed, but it's definitely possible. Just potentially set up with this thing. U-Turn is there just to get some general momentum. +1 Scald does a lot to the Hippowdon, which is really nice. We have the Focus Sash just in case we need to live like a Stone Edge or something like that. And then Air Slash is there for Stab. Didn't really feel like I needed the Bug Buzz this week. I just didn't feel it was super necessary. Nothing takes super effective damage from it. And Air Slash and Scald kind of cover a lot of stuff anyway. So, pretty simple for Masquerain. I wanted to hear for Hippowdon because I was lacking a little bit of offensive pressure on Hippowdon. And last but not least, we have Iron Lad, our Pawniard, with the Choice Scarf and Defiant, Knockoff Pursuit, Iron Head, and Psycho Cut. 80 in HP, 68 in attack, 252 in special defense, 108 in speed with the Adamant Nature. So we outspeed an Adamant Hitmonlee. There's no way that... Hold up. I'm confused. Oh, yes, that's right. So with the Scarf, we outspeed an Adamant Hitmonlee. We live a Moonblast from a Timid Gardevoir after Rocks. We kill the Gardevoir after Rocks. If there's no Rocks, it's a roll without the Rocks. And this thing is mainly just here to kind of handle Gardevoir. Like I said, I'm thinking it's going to be Scarfed. If it's not that big of a deal. But if it is Scarfed, we can live a Moonblast either way. We can't live 2 Moonblasts, so I can't switch into a Moonblast, but this is more my switch into a potential Psychic. If it switches out, we know that it's Scarfed. If it doesn't switch out, we're either going to outspeed it, or if it doesn't switch out and it's not Scarfed, goes for Moonblast, we live the Moonblast, and we Iron Head and we kill it. So, also has Psycho Cut for the Muck, potentially. Pursuit is there. It has a couple things that can be Pursuit trapped pretty well, like the Jellicent and the Metang can potentially both be Pursuit trapped, and Knockoff is just really nice stab and a good move overall. So that is the team for this week of the SSS League. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. The battle will be up tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. Other than that, thank you guys for watching. Leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.